It's the Forever Knight-athon. We're recapping and reviewing every single episode of Season 1 of the 1990s Canadian police procedural about a vampire detective taking a bite out of crime. I have developed a pretty handy rubric for discerning the quality of an episode of Forever Knight. Simply ask yourself, how much does Nick being a vampire impact the story? And the more it does, the better the episode will be. The more the show leans in and lets itself be like weird and high concept, the better it gets. And this episode is the strongest one yet, because it's all about #vampire problems. Natalie is giving her brother Richard a ride after his car had to be towed. Richard, we learn, is a prosecutor with the city, a profession he chose because he's passionate about quote-unquote justice, by which he means locking up criminals. By definition, anyone you lock up, you have criminalized, so I don't know if that's really justice. Bad day to be at the precinct, though. This mob guy, Saul Craven, was released from custody, and the only person that could testify against him is too scared to talk. Nick and this gangster are like, "Don't worry, we can keep you safe. Please trust in our ability to keep you safe." Mere seconds later, this arrestee steals a cop's gun and holds him hostage, demanding to be let go. Nick tries to de-escalate the situation, but opts not to use his fucking mind control powers, bozo. Anyway, guess who gets shot the fuck up? It's Richard. Fuck. We just met him. Fuck. What a waste. They could have done anything with that character. And now he's dying from bullets. Natalie doesn't like that one bit. She thinks her brother should get to live. And broadly speaking, I do understand that impulse. She insists that Nick make Richard a vampire to save his life. And, wow. Okay, Natalie. I don't think you understand what vampires are. So far, Natalie has advised Nick to just quit drinking blood, and that nearly got him killed. She told him that he was just afraid of garlic and crosses for no reason, and crosses fucking set him on fire. Now, when her brother's dying, she's just like, well, I got an idea. Why don't we just turn him into a vampire? That'd go great. Nick is hesitant to do this because it's a bad idea. He argues that it's a fate worse than death, and while he might be the vampire here, it's Natalie that goes for the jugular.
The life I can give him is worse than death, Nat.
Oh, is it really? Well, then why don't you just walk out in the sun and end it all right now? If what you have is so terrible, then just kill yourself.
Brutal! To be fair, though, he did try in episode 4, and you stopped him, actually, if you recall, so... Still, she makes a good point. If Nick can be redeemed, if he can lead a relatively normal life as a vampire, why couldn't other people? Is it fair to ask her to just accept her brother's death when she knows for a fact that Nick could prevent it? But on the other hand, I also see Nick's perspective. His whole thing, his entire deal is trying not to be a vampire anymore, to renounce his vampiring ways. So to foist that on someone else flies in the face of everything he believes in. But also, he's all about saving lives and giving back to the community, supposedly. So here's the chance to save a life, just in a different way. There's a lot to consider here. He thinks back to the last time, maybe the only time, he's ever brought someone across. A woman with leprosy who had been badly beaten and left for dead. He asks her, "Do you want to live?" And she's like, "Nah." And he's like, "Okay, are you sure I can cure your leprosy?" And she's like, "Yeah. Who cares?" He's like, "Okay, I will grant you eternal youth and power beyond your wildest dreams too, so if that sweetens the deal at all." And she's like, "Nah, thanks, I'm good though." He's like, "This probably won't have a big impact, but I do feel it would be irresponsible of me not to say, you would be beautiful again if that changes anything." And she's like, "Hold up, I'll be hot? Tell me more though." In 1992, Nick consults with Jeanette about this, since she's the only other vampire he knows that's even remotely not evil. She's a little evil, but she's a little good. She's neutral. She says it's a big responsibility, like owning a dog, and tells him to make sure he can handle it before making that choice, subtly foreshadowing that if he were to do it, he might be getting in over his head just a smidge. Still, he goes for it. Yum yum, give me that brother blood, yes please. Oops, too far. No wait, he's good. Natalie's like, "All right, nurse, I'm gonna just take my brother's body now. See ya." And this doctor comes in and is like, "No can do. He's an organ donor." Whoops. Uh-oh. How are they going to get out of this one? They use a clever tactic of saying, "No, he isn't. He changes his mind." And the doctor's like, "Okay, good enough for me." They squirrel Richard away in Nick's apartment and tell his wife that he's a vampire now, after letting her think he's fucking dead and buried. Smooth move, guys. Real good stuff. She's eager to see him, but Nick wants to keep him isolated for a while so he can learn to control his blood horniness. Back in the flashbacks, we see that he failed to do this with the lady he brought across. So she just starts gorbling people like fucking immediately. And like, yeah, obviously she did. Should have seen that coming, bozo. Richard seems cool though, so far. You know, he seems to get it. He gets what being a vampire is all about. He's normal. He has a touching phone call with his wife, and then sees a news report about Saul Craven being back on the streets. And he's like, the criminals of this city don't fear me. I must become something more, something dark, a creature of the night. I am a vampire who's going to kill Saul Craven. So he starts doing vigilante killing of a bunch of crime guys. Day one of being a vampire, and this fool has already let the power go to his head. This is why you never, ever let someone turn you into a vampire. If you or someone you love is struggling with urges to become a vampire, there are places you can go to get help. There are people you can talk to. Vampirism is never the answer. Don't take chances with vampses. Richard walks past an act of sexual assault in progress and kills the perpetrator, which the show frames as villainous, but like, I don't know. Like, I got mixed feelings on that one. Seems like you did manipulatively pick the most heinous and reprehensible crime one could feasibly walk past, and then expected me to have a strong emotional reaction when the guy doing it got killed. I don't know, Forever Knight. Maybe don't use specifically sexual assault in your story for that purpose. The police are pretty pissed, though. They want the Vamp Man brought to justice, except Skanky, who timidly posits, maybe it's a good that Richard is killing all the bad guys, because he hates crime and bad guys. So, maybe that's good.
Considering the vermin this guy's getting rid of, I'm sure there are some folks that would say he's doing our job for us.
And so this is so that you, the audience, know that this is a dumb and bad position to hold. Credit where credit is due. They do address that a lot of cops are going to like this kind of shit. And they put that in the mouth of the crass Dumbo cop. And he, of course, backs down like a little bitch boy when Stone Tree pushes back on it even slightly.
You wouldn't happen to be one of them, would you, officer? Just give me a taste of public opinion, sir.
Richard confronts Saul Craven, who is just about to torture and murder that lady who was the only one that could testify against him. She's like, I didn't say nothing. He's like, but you wanted to. Okay, so then, hey man, is the message you're trying to send that if the police approach you about testifying against me, it doesn't matter whether you do it or not, I'm going to torture and kill you? Real smart thinking there, Saul. I want to be clear that it's bad to do vigilante murder. That's a bad thing. But in context, in this situation, it is surely better than letting this innocent woman die. Like, if Saul were just minding his own business, biding his time until his next crime, that'd be one thing. But no, he's in the middle of a murder torture, so Richard kicks his ass like a maniac. Actually, on second thought, I kind of like how Richard gets these layup scenarios. It helps enforce his point of view. You understand why he'd think he was doing good in the world. But also, you get to see the sadistic glee he's taking in it. How he's letting himself off the hook for his own monstrous behavior by contrasting that against those of the criminal element. He's not the hero Toronto deserves. He's the hero it needs right now. Nick and Nat are less enthused. Nat blames herself, but Richard says it's Nick's fault and
It's not your fault. It's his. Right, Nick?
Well, it's both of their faults, but it's mostly Natalie's fault, right? Like, Nick correctly thought this would be a bad idea and didn't want to do it, and then Natalie talked him into it, playing off all of his insecurities. Like, let's not let Natalie off the hook here. This is exactly what Nick said would happen. He's not free of blame either, right? Like, he shouldn't have done this, but come on. Still, it's narratively important that Nick shoulders the blame because Nick should always get to brood and to be sexily haunted by his past. This guy is going to vamp on his wife for sure. This is just like that last time Nick brought someone across and had to stake her. Boy, come to think of it, I guess he should have seen that coming. So Nick's got to stake Richard. They hypnotize his wife to make her forget all of the horrible trauma their bad decisions have subjected them to. She seems to be healing, though.
Sarah, would you like me to come home with you?
No, not today. I need to spend some time alone with Amy.
What are you going to say to her?
I'm going to tell her that Daddy's death is something God wanted.
Oh? Don't know if I would phrase it like that. I do feel like that's going to lead to your kid having a blood feud with God, Inigo Montoya style. Maybe say I don't know, Daddy's with God now, or Daddy's in heaven now, or something like that. Something like that instead, if you're going for a religious angle. Instead of saying specifically, God decided that your father should die. He thinks it's better that your father be dead, would be my advice. Holy shit, though, this episode was so good. And it didn't even have LaCroix in it, and it was still real good. As much as I've made fun of it, it makes total sense that Natalie would want this. And it also kind of does make sense that Nick would try something like this eventually. Because if he can conquer his bloodlust, why not try to help other people reap the benefits of immortality? He knows Richard is a good dude, in according to their weird cop moral standards. He trusts Richard, and maybe things will be different this time. After all, he'll have Nick to guide him and to keep him on the straight and narrow. Vampires don't have to kill. They can gorgle cows. Nick doesn't kill people, and I can see why Nick would want to believe that. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't it be hard to resist the temptation if you knew you could save someone who was about to die, even if, deep in your bones, you knew that it was a bad idea? Could you resist? Especially if by doing so, if by resisting, you were forced to confront the idea that maybe you yourself are irredeemable. But it's also clear from the audience's perspective how they're headed down the wrong path, how he is essentially dooming Richard with the same curse that ruined his own life, how they're letting their grief cloud their judgment. Also, Richard is a genuine threat here. At times, we kind of lose perspective on this, but vampires are ridiculously powerful in this world. They're stronger, faster, immune to most weapons. They can fly. They can hypnotize people when they remember they can do it. It's great to see a more human perspective on just how dangerous that power could be in the wrong hands, how it could immediately corrupt someone, how it could bring out the dark impulses that lurk just below the surface. Normally we see things from Nick's perspective and he's just using his vampire powers to kick ass. So we're like, oh, I guess it's fine if people are vampires. No, it's dangerous. Tomorrow on Forever Night, Nick investigates a serial killer who calls into a late-night radio show and confesses his crimes as they happen. What a creep. What a little freaky guy. I hope a vampire stops him.
And I'd like to thank the people who will forever be my knights over at patreon.com/scaredycats. In particular, I'd like to thank Verbena, Cooper Holmes, Joe McClory, Liz Widow, Maston Ginger, James Garford, C.H. Phillips, Gideon, Charlotte Hollingsworth, Devin Kaler, Spooky Heather Sylvia, and definitely Todd. And I, Bobby Duke, the star of the channel, would like to thank the following people who's also the stars of the channel on account of their support on patreon.com/scaredycats. We got Jay Torney, Schadenfraulein, Lanston, Rachel Rat, Kato Moore, Carpad, Josh Manez, Hyla Tracy, Louisa Prito, and Jesse. Well, can you believe the shenanigans Nick Knight and his pals got up doing this one? Hey, we're gonna keep going all January, baby. You wanna get these videos a day early? Go on over to Patreon. Oh, wait. You can just wait. I mean, how bad do you need it,